My name is Lynn Baumgartner. I'm one of the school counselors here. This is Ryan Nolan, another school counselor. So tonight we are focusing on the 10th grade and what 10th graders can do now to prepare for life after high school, what they can do while they're still in high school. Many people think that those kinds of experiences don't happen till later in high school, the junior year or senior year, but it's really never too early for students to start thinking about what their plans might be, you know, what career options they might have. And it's never too early. That's why we try to do this with 10th grade families. So tonight we have a variety of things happening. We have two wonderful speakers tonight, and then at the end, Mr. Nolan and I will go through briefly the Naviance program that your children were introduced to last year and most recently did in the classroom with us last week. So first I want to introduce from State University of New York at Albany, Marcia Hoyt-King, who is the Associate Director of Admissions. Yes, at Albany.
All right, good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here and talk to you today about what you can actually do to prepare an effective college application. We can start. So planning ahead, and this is, I have quite a few slides, so feel free to click along, but basically planning ahead, application options. We have a number of different options, and I believe they're actually on the other slide. Essay topics, letters of recommendation, standardized tests, those are just some of the things that you would be needed to prepare. Next. Okay. Your goal in preparing the application is to be prepared to get offered admissions, be considered for scholarships or other opportunities, honors college or special communities within the school, and you want to convey that you are prepared. So everything that you're going to be putting together is to help us to get to know you better, okay? And to show us that you are able to, you know, perform. How and when to apply, and we have different options in terms of the application. So there's the common application. I'm sure you guys all heard about that. That's the one that most schools will accept. Whether public and private. We also, UAlbany, for example, we use the common application as well as the SUNY app. The SUNY app is just for SUNY schools, so you can use that. And then the timeline, when to apply, there are different opportunities, some for students to apply early. Basically, you have early action, which University of Albany offers. And basically what that means is that you apply early and you get a decision early. The other opportunity to apply early is early decision. They're two very different things. So early action is you apply early, you get a decision early, you still have until May 1st to commit or make your decision. It is non-binding. Okay, you can apply to as many schools as you would like early action. Then there's early decision. This one is a binding agreement between you and that college. I would only recommend early action if it's a school that you absolutely, positively think that this is the school for you. It is binding, you apply early, you get accepted, and then you're expected to enjoy your applications from all the other schools. So as you guys are in 10th grade, for example, my son actually knew for some strange reason, probably in middle school, that he wanted to go to Cornell. And so the entire time, that's all he thought about. Against my better judgment, he wanted to apply early decision. And so he did, and he got in, and all was well. But you have to really be careful. It has to be the school that you know that that's the one for you. All right? Regular decision. So typically, most colleges will have a deadline, and these will be different dates. And just as an example, I'm going to use Albany. So early action for us is November 15th. So basically, you have to submit all the information early. And then if you decide that you don't want to do an early application, either early action or decision, then you can apply to by the regular application deadline. And for us, it's February 1st. I don't recommend that anyone wait that late because by that time, we would have admitted, like we were started admitting regular applications. We just finished up our early action. So by that time, we probably, by February, we'll maybe admit about 70% of our class. So you don't want to be in the bottom 30% because things can change drastically because our profile, our application pool can totally impact our admissions profile, right? So the deadlines, so there are deadlines for your regular decision. And like I said, so you want to pay attention to that. Now it's great because I think most schools have a lot of information, a wealth of information on their website. So you can find out all the information about deadlines and things like that as you're doing your research. So pay attention. Okay. Components of the application. So the application itself, right? So we talked about Common App or SUNY app. So you have the application. Then you need your transcripts, test scores, letters of recommendations, depending on, the school, essays, supplemental information and optional questions, extracurricular activities, which we'll talk about. So, academic trends. What are we looking for when we're reviewing your application? And primarily, one of the things, your transcript is really going to give us a lot of information. I would say for most schools, definitely Albany, your transcript is the most important thing. That's what's going to really help us determine a decision. But it's a holistic review, so we look at other things. But when we look at the transcript, we're looking at your core courses. The 5 academic subjects are very important, of course. And most students are taking a college prep program should have that. One of the things I do want to mention is like your 4 years of history, 4 years of English. For us, at least 3 years of science with a lab, at least 3 years of math. Algebra 2 is required. And that's very important because for some reason, some students, after geometry, something happens, and I don't know. But it kind of, for us, it's very important. It may vary from school to school, but we do require algebra, algebra 2. The other language is also important. You have a minimum of 2 years, but ideally, we like to see 3 years of language. All right, so you guys are in 10th grade, so you know, coming to this presentation, what you should and should not do in terms of selecting courses, right? Does anyone have any questions about that? Awesome. Oh, I forgot to mention, there were 2 other things on the slide, but mainly senior grades, your senior program. When you're choosing your senior courses, if you can have an opportunity to challenge yourself and you're able to take any, honors courses, AP courses, college level work, those things will add to the strength of your program, and you look at that in a favorable manner. So please do not shy away from those. If you have an opportunity to challenge yourself, please do that. We do look at, in some cases, your senior grades, depending on, your situation. If you may be, a little borderline, then you may have an opportunity to submit mid-year grades. And we also look at exam scores. So if you're taking Regents exams, please pay close attention because in most cases, most schools, it's on your transcripts, and we do look at those. So you want to make sure that you're taking them seriously. So test scores, most schools, SATs, ACTs are standard, the general standardized exams. Hopefully you've heard of those. Most schools now, since COVID, Albany being one of them, and we have been approved for spring 2023. So, not sure what's going to happen after that, but it's possible that we may continue to be test are test optional. All right, and basically what that means is that you don't, it is what it says, it's that's optional, you don't have to submit SAT scores unless you want to. In some cases, I would recommend, if you're gonna submit scores, you wanna make sure that you know what the criteria is and what our minimum criteria is. For us, just an example, it's about around 1,100, 1,150. So anything lower than that, then you might wanna really think about whether you want, it's supposed to help you. We're also test blind for scholarships, so you don't need it. You can actually be eligible for scholarships just from your application. All right, so we're test blind for scholarships. Yes.
What's the difference between the SATs and the ACTs?
I'm sorry?
The difference between the SATs and the ACTs, and which would you recommend to do?
Great question. So the ACTs are more of a subject test. So when I say to students, if you are good in other areas, I think there's a science portion, so if you're good in other areas, whereas the SATs is just 3 parts. I think a reading, math, and a writing. I don't know if there's a change or not. Critical something. Evidence-based. Evidence-based reading or writing. Math. So, you know, honestly, grade depends on the student. I usually say try both. You know, you never know. Some students may do better on one as opposed to the other. But, you know, for us, we look at them the same. So it's just, there's an equivalent scale that we measure the SATs and what the equivalence is at the ACT level. So just, you know, a numerical number. And for us, like I said, 1150 or better is about average. Between 1150 to 1250 is our average range. 50% of our students will come in with that. And for SATs, I would say ACTs is about a 25 to 28. And it's just 2 different grades. Any other questions? Anything that mentioned so far? Okay, moving right along. So letters of recommendation certainly is very valuable. You want to start thinking about those because you wanted to start to think about who's going to write those recommendations, who to ask. You know, for us, we required, I think Common App actually states that, either from a teacher or guidance counselor. So, you know, start, you know, being nice to your teachers, start really participating, because someday you may leave that classroom and you may think, you know what, I may need a recommendation for college. And guess what? You're going to have to go back to that teacher, so make sure you're nice to them or your guidance counselors, right? So, yeah. Next. Okay. Essays. So essays is another component that people talk a lot about, like, oh, my essay, what am I going to write? How do I get help for this? And this is something that you guys will be thinking about, because at some point between the end of your junior year, going into your senior year, that summer, you're going to want to start thinking about that, especially if you're going to be applying early to places, or early action, or early decision. You know, some students will start preparing their essay during the summer, but hopefully, as the year progresses, in the first maybe month or so, you'll get some assistance from the English teacher, maybe some guidance from your guidance counselor as well. So when you're writing, we want you to be concise. You know, basically the essay is for us to get to know you a little better, right? Something that we may not know that's not going to be reflected on your transcripts or other information that you've submitted in the application. Make sense? So the other thing that I do recommend, and you see 3 times, proofread, proofread, proofread. So you guys have a lot of resources, take full advantage of it, and that's why I said if you could start in the summer before, so you can have, you know, start off with mom and dad taking a look at it. Then school starts, send it to your guidance counselor, have your English teacher look it over. So you could never do too much of that, because obviously it's a reflection of you, so you want to make sure that you present well. And not too much opinions. I think want to make sure that you're clear that you sign in well written. Next. Optional questions. So this is something that I usually recommend that students do, and I can only speak on this as it relates to you all. So we don't, because of the number of applications or students that we admit each year, we receive over 28, probably about 30,000 applications this year. It's really high. But because of that, we don't do interviews. So for the larger schools, there's no way for us to really get to know you other than one of the ways is through your essay. So if you have an opportunity to share any additional information about yourself, please feel free to do that or incorporate that into your essay. We want to know you, we want to get to know you. There's something that you need to explain. Let's say, I don't know, let's hope not 10th grade, but you started off really well in 9th grade, something happened, and there's a dip in 10th grade, and then you went back to doing well 11th grade. Then we kind of want to know what happened there. I'm going to be reading this application and see that, and I'm like, okay, there's something here. This may not doesn't really look like a student. Clearly something happened. Please do not hesitate to share that information because we want to know. Anything that is going to impact, anything that is going to help you or help us or be favorably on you as we review the application, please feel free to incorporate that. Additional tips, you want to explain why you're interested in the college or university. Stay organized and detailed. Start application early. We talked about that. Demonstrated interest before applying. So this, again, it may vary from school to school, but you want to, most schools will have like an admissions professional, and for Albany, for the capital region, that would be me. So, yes, my information is on our website. It'll be at the end of this slide. So as you go through the process, one of the things that I think is the most important thing is visit. The campus visit is very important. I think you'll hear a lot of schools, and you'll hear other students talking about schools that they may be interested in. And that's all great. A lot of schools have great reputation and all that, but you really don't know what is the right fit for you, I think, until you actually step foot on campus. So I like to shop, so I kind of describe it as a shopping adventure. You go into the store, you try on a pair of shoes, you want to walk around in it, make sure it feels good, and that's the same way I like to describe what a visit should be like, so you want to come and check out the campus. And there's lots of opportunities to do that. I think now, there's, certainly virtual opportunities where you can get a sense when you're now starting out, but I think it's important to get on campus as well. Another thing is when we're at college fair, as you attend the college fair, you want to fill out inquiry cards. We have your information. That way we can communicate with you. And it's really helpful for us because depending on what your interests are, we can also send information pertaining to your interests. Okay, that was quick. Got through it really fast. So, does anyone have any questions for me before I turn it over to our other? Oh, sorry.
If you think of questions,
If you do think of questions, we will offer, again, time at the end for you to ask questions to any of us. And thank you very much, Marcia. This is great information. And don't panic yet, 10th graders. You're not going to have to write your essay yet. You don't have to visit a college yet, but We feel it's very important for you to have this information as early as you can. Start thinking about the relationship you're having with the teacher. Could that teacher be one of your recommendations someday? Think about what you're involved in, the classes you're taking, what will make you stand out when you do send that application. So we like to tell you as early as possible, and as someone who's been in high school for a year and a quarter, you have lots of time to build upon your high school resume. It is my pleasure now to introduce Cynthia Smith from RPI. She is the Director of the Pipeline Initiatives and the Director of the RPI STEP program.
Hi, good evening. This is the first time I've been out this side of the country, so it was an adventure getting here, and I'm very happy to be here tonight. I am from RPI. I'm the Director of Pipeline Initiatives, and my job mostly is to help young people who are interested or think they might be interested in STEM degrees to prepare and get ready for college. And so STEM, as everybody knows, science, technology, engineering, and math. There's a great need for individuals to go into those fields, and so we hope to prepare as many students, make them comfortable in terms of pursuing those careers and to be successful in them ultimately. And so a lot of my comments will reinforce what has already been said tonight, but will also give you some more ideas specifically related to STEM degrees, okay? So right at this moment, I'm not sure if all of you know exactly what you want to do in college or for a career, and it's okay if you don't. Careers and jobs and opportunities are changing with light speed these days. So jobs, the parents in the room know, that exist today didn't exist 10 years ago. Things are really changing. And so the best thing you can do is to prepare yourself to be a good critical thinker and be flexible and be able to take advantage of, be prepared to be able to take advantage of opportunities that will present themselves in the future. One of the things I always tell my students, which is something that might seem a little counterintuitive to students in high school, is to ask for help. I don't know if any of you go to your teachers or your friends or anything, or anybody to ask for help at any time. But it's a really good skill to learn and to be able to advocate for yourself if you need help with anything. This is something that you can start practicing as a 10th grader and hone that skill, because when you get to college, you're going to want to be able to ask for help too. You can't just kind of sail along and think that you can just read the book and answer all of the questions on your own all the time, especially in a STEM career, especially in a career where teamwork is very, very important, right? If you're going to be an engineer, you're going to need to be able to work in a team, and that means communicating with people and asking their opinions and asking them, if they got this answer or whatever. Just being able to work with other people and ask for help is essential. I think, I know at our school, I'm sure at SUNY Albany too, we're interested in students being successful. And to be successful, it doesn't mean that you're just going to be book learners. You're going to have to be able to be very well-rounded, and you're going to have to be able to communicate, as I said before. So learn to ask for help. It is not something that you should be afraid of doing, okay? Ask for help. So next, did I skip one? I might just follow these. Nope. Maybe I skipped a page. I skipped a page. Okay. So yeah, keep your options open. The best way to do that is to prepare yourself as best you can to get as much preliminary work done before college so that you are able to go to the college you want to go to. So at SUNY Albany, and at many, many schools, there are the basic requirements to get through Algebra 2. If you were going to go into an engineering career, and I think this is probably true for SUNY as well, you would want to at least have analysis, pre-calc, and even calculus before applying to college. Pre-calc specifically. So if you're on a track right now, you want to go to be an engineer. Right now, at this point, I would think about how am I going to get pre-calc or even calculus before I graduate from high school. I think that there are some summer school options here at the school where you can take pre-calc to get you on track, and that's well worth the effort to do that, okay? But again, know what your options are and keep them open. You want to also take you want to make sure that you have to go to RPI physics with a lab, not just a regular physics course, but physics with a lab if you're especially going to be an engineer, okay? If you don't know the answers to any questions, make sure you ask. Let's flip over. And again, I imagine that there are students in the room perhaps who are, a lot of students who are extraordinary students, and then some students who maybe wish they could do a little bit better. And so some of the tips that I would tell you right now that you can work on are, simple things like sit up in the front of the classroom. I went on a college visit once to University of Rochester, and we'll never forget it. So the guy had all of these students in the room, and he says, okay, you guys on this first 2 rows, you're the ones that are going to get the A's because you're sitting up in the front. You're actually there and present and ready to learn. Sit up in the front of a classroom and join in the class discussions, okay? Ask questions again. Always try to keep up with your assignments and ask for help again. Recommended courses, we went through this before, but again, for a STEM degree, you want to try to get more than just the Algebra 2. You want to try to get pre-calc and calculus. We don't require foreign language at RPI, so if you don't like foreign language, that might be a school you want to choose. But we do teach Chinese at RPI. We feel that that's important. So you don't have to have any prior knowledge of Chinese to get into RPI and learn that. It is definitely something that's very interesting. We do it virtually. It's very fascinating. And then the trig and calculus for STEM degrees. Outside of school also counts in terms of being successful and preparing yourself to get into a STEM school. So in your homes, find quiet places to study. Work on your time management, okay? Set up a homework schedule and kind of keep to it. Those of you who are athletes in the room, we have athletes? Few athletes? I know you guys are really good with time management always because, you have to practice at a certain time and you only have this much time to study and you get it done. That's really good, but everybody needs to be able to do that too. Work on your time management skills. You'll need them in college, especially because when you get to college, you're going to be responsible for yourself. You're not going to have mom and dad that says, okay, did you finish your homework yet? That doesn't happen. You're on your own. So learn to be self-reliant in that regard. Proofreading, asking your friends, your teachers, your counselors to proofread is really a good thing. Getting used to using your library locally, that is also wonderful. We use the internet so much anymore, but the library has amazing first-person sources that are valuable if you're going to do research in STEM. So if you can get used to using the library, especially a university library, that will be a skill that will do well for you. Keep up with current events. Look up words that you don't know in the dictionary. Today, I still get Merriam-Webster word of the day every single day. Every day I know most of the words, but it's something just to keep your mind working. Do those kind of things to get used to the habit of learning and loving to learn day in and day out. And then, talk with your family about your career plans. These are things you can do as 10th graders, okay? Now, the next slide, consider STEM or STEAM. STEAM involves the arts as well. Is this new to you all, or are you familiar with STEM? Familiar with STEM? Okay. There are some reasons why we really push this. to try to get more people into STEM. One of the things you should know is growth rate and employment in STEM is much higher. That's good because it's needed, but this is a trend that has occurred over through 2018. These reports are online at the Department of Labor, Department of Commerce, and these are the most recent statistics that are out published right now, but you can see that STEM careers are still in high demand. And then, by comparison, on the next slide, right, you can see what the projections are for the future. So as far as employment goes, in 2021, and remember, we're in COVID now, so these are based on some COVID data as well from 2021, right? And these are numbers in thousands, so that's 9,888,000 jobs were created in STEM occupations, where 148 million in other occupations, okay? So they're not as many. They're not as many as all in the projections either. There is a percent change that is increasing over from 2021 to 31, as you can see. But look at the salary over there. See the salary, how different that is in the STEM careers. So you've got 95,000 annual salary projected for STEM occupations versus 40,000 for non-STEM occupations. That's more than double, right? That's considerable. So, you know, if you don't know yet what you want to do, there are opportunities in STEM, okay? Okay, and then here are some actual undergraduate majors in STEM, and I'm sure this is not a comprehensive list. This is just a summary by category of the kinds of things that you can study in college. This is from the U.S. Department of Commerce. Computer science is growing tremendously now, by the way. That's also a STEM degree if you're interested in that. There are a lot of opportunities there. Do you want to flip it? Okay. The licensed professions are also out there for you to take advantage of. Nursing is a licensed profession. A lot of the engineering degrees are licensed professions because we don't want the bridge to fall down, right? We want to make sure that the bridge gets built and it's built right. We want to drive over it safely. So you get a license in some of these areas. A really interesting license is maritime, learning how to sail a boat. SUNY Maritime has an amazing curriculum at their school. If you've looked at it, it's a great school. And they also have an engineering degree there too. But you can get a license to be able to run a ship. Okay? Okay, so the benefits of STEM, more education, more lifetime earnings potential, and it can, and if you get a higher degree in STEM other than just a bachelor's degree, and sometimes you may want to get a higher degree, the wages go up even more. Okay, so we'll see that on the next slide. This particular slide by the U.S. Department of Labor and Statistics compares the wages for different degrees versus the unemployment rate. Okay, and you see how it's kind of inverse there? So if you get a doctoral degree, your wages are fairly high, right? But the unemployment rate for individuals with a doctoral degree is very, very low. On the reverse of that, if you graduate with less than or you don't graduate, you have less than a high school degree, your wages, your weekly wages aren't going to be that much, and the odds that you will be unemployed are much, much higher. So just something to keep in mind. It's really worth finishing this high school degree and going off to either a 2-year or a 4-year college in order to be able to, increase your opportunities in life. Okay. So, the road to college as a 10th grade student. I've talked to you about some of those things before, and you've heard some from the SUNY Albany presentation. But as a 10th or 11th grade student, you can make a list of the schools that interest you now and gather information on those schools, study it. Each school is different. Each school has different characteristics. They have a different feel. They have, they're in a different geographic location. Find out what's out there. See where you can study what you want to study. You should register to take the SAT test before December of your senior year, and in the 11th grade for sure. And I concur with everything about what was said about the SAT. I think you should take it, either that or the ACT test, and use it if it benefits you to use it, right? If you have a score at the schools that you apply to that is higher than what they are generally accepting, then by all means use it. I think the colleges, and I know RPI is going to be looking at your transcript primarily. They're going to want to see what you're doing in high school. They're going to want to see what grade, what courses you're taking, and how well you do in each of those courses. Okay. I think that's the same across the board. But use the SAT and ACT test scores if they benefit you. Unless, of course, the school requires it, and then you have to use it anyway. Okay? And if possible, visit the campus of each school you're seriously considering. And that can be done, a casual vacation trip. You happen to be going off to Maine and you wanted to go see Northeastern. Well, just drop down to Mass Pike and see Northeastern, and then go back up to Bangor or wherever you were going. Just kind of fit these trips into, your family plans as best you can, okay? It is worth seeing a college in person. I think during COVID, everybody did a really good job in trying to help everybody see the schools otherwise, but there's nothing like being on a college campus, because you can tell almost once you walk on the campus if it's the right fit for you, okay? And you can tell if it's not the right fit. Speaking of Northeastern, I walked on Northeastern's campus with my daughter, and we walked off the campus because I knew right away that she wasn't impressed at all. And so that's, you just can tell whether it's going to be a good fit or not. Okay. As a 12th grade student, you'll want to apply for admission and housing early. And I also concur with regard to the early decision and early action. There is no limit on the amount of schools you can apply to early action, and you don't have to go to any one of them if you get accepted to all of them, right? It's just getting the application out there, getting it out of the way, getting it done, knowing what's going to happen, Once you get accepted to the schools you're accepted to, you will have also filed your FAFSA. Everybody know what the FAFSA is? The FAFSA is the application for financial aid, okay? And everybody should do that, because you never know how much money you're going to get, right? And a little is always helpful. A lot is even more, but you need to file, and the guidance counselors will work with you during the 11th grade year and with the parents during the 11th grade year to help you fill out the FAFSA, all right? It is looking at your family's financial situation, and it's comparing your situation to everybody else across the nation, right? And what it gives you after you input all of your information is the expected family contribution to the cost of college, okay? And that number is what the colleges will use to develop financial aid packages. And I think everybody should apply for financial aid. You never know if you're going to get it or you're not, okay? It is worth the effort. Okay. So there are deadlines for FAFSA as well, and you'll want to make sure that you get your application in on time, alongside with your college applications, because when you receive your acceptance letters from the colleges, you're also going to very soon thereafter receive a financial aid package from the college. And then at that point, then the fun starts, because, hopefully you're looking at 2 or 3 different offers to go to college, along with these financial aid packages, and you can compare them. And then you have a really interesting decision. You can choose to go to the college you really always wanted to go to, or you can look at the numbers and say, well, but in the long run, it's going to be this much less expensive to go to this other college. And then you just have to make a decision on where you really want to go. Okay, it's very interesting, and there are a lot of opportunities. You just have to kind of pay attention along the way and see what may come. Each school has a different ability to be able to give financial aid. The financial aid will come in the form of grants and scholarships or free money. It can come in the form of like a work-study job. So you can go to school and get a job and earn a couple $1,000 to help pay for your expenses, like pizza or, things that make life worth living, right? So the work-study money is your money as a student that you're able to use, and it helps mom and dad, because they won't have to send an allowance to help pay for those things, right? So the work study, or there are loans, and loans are increasingly becoming a part of going to college. So if you apply for when you apply for the FAFSA, you'll get a financial aid package. You compare each one of these offers together, and I would really look at what the loan responsibility is in the long run to see what is the best deal, okay? And I think all of you students should make sure that you trust your parents and their guidance on those kinds of things, okay, as you look at the offers. Okay. You can apply for your own scholarships as well. I have a student who just won a scholarship over the weekend for Future Cities, and she participated in Future Cities back when she was a 7th grade student. She had the opportunity to apply, and she won a $1,000 scholarship. That helps. You can get scholarships from work opportunities, like working at Stewart's. I think they pay a little bit of money. I think Price Chopper or Market 32, whatever it is now, I think they pay a little bit of money. Walmart pays a little bit of money for kids to go to school. Those, look for the different opportunities. The Rotary does. There are a lot of options out there. Okay. So in the next slide, keep your focus. Okay, keep focus. This is your future. And you have a really significant amount of time now to be able to hone in on what you need to do. Be intentional about your coursework and your transcript. You want to take as challenging courses as you can, and you want to do as well as you possibly can in each of them, especially your Regents courses right now. Make a list of your cheerleaders. Your cheerleaders are the ones who are going to write the best recommendations for you, okay? You may have 5 or 6, you will have 5 or 6 teachers you're seeing right now, and you may like all of them, but which one of them knows you the best and knows more about you than just maybe how well you did in the class, okay? Kind of open yourself up to some of these individuals. Maybe it's a teacher who is also a coach in robotics or something like that, who spent even more time with you. Look at those individuals as people who might be able to tell a little bit more about your character and why they think you would be a good fit for the colleges you're applying to, okay? Skill development, and I'm gonna skip that part for just a second, and then start drafting your story with your attributes. So how many of you have started working on a resume? Okay, not essential, but maybe a list of things that you've done, I would start jotting that stuff down. Mom may already have a list of, you were in Webelos and Cub Scouts or whatever many years ago. Just start making a list of the different things you have done. You don't need a list that's 100 items long, though. What is most important is you've had these opportunities to be involved in different things over the years, and you have taken it to like the next level. You're passionate about it. Maybe it's that you've sung in the church choir every year, and now you are someone who is looked as a leader in the church choir. That's something that is important, okay? Maybe it's an opportunity at school that you've had that you've been able to participate in more than a couple years or a couple years, and you've assumed a leadership position. Those are really essential things. Those are the kinds of things that you're going to want to talk about. So begin to think about what those opportunities are. Maybe it's that you've had to work year in and year out to help support your family, and that's important to you. And if you're able to talk about that and what difference it has made in your life in terms of accepting responsibility and in the life of your family and your community, those are the kinds of things that, colleges are going to look at and think, this is a special person. This is somebody who we think we would like to have as a part of our community who will add something to our community, okay? So start thinking about those things now. What is it that you've done, and how can you talk about it in a positive way? Okay, skill development. I included these last couple of slides because I thought this was really important. And this also follows up on some of the things that you want to talk about in your essay. The next slide. Okay. These two slides actually talk about what employers seek on a resume from a college kid, what they're looking to hire. But if you look down the list, there are some really good items here that if you have them, you can talk about them in your college essay. You can begin to put forth a case that you have problem-solving skills. Well, if you are interested in engineering, that's what we want to see, right? Ability to work in a team, again, an engineering strong point. Strong work ethic, analytical and qualitative skills. Maybe you show that in your math grades, right? Communication skills, written communication skills. Writing is really important in STEM. So keep writing. It really is. If you think you're going to go into a STEM career and maybe you won't have to write anymore, that's not right. You do have to write, and so you will want to continue to work on those skills. Leadership, initiative, and you see how the percentages kind of decrease along the way. So these are the kinds of things that not only employers, but colleges are looking for early evidence of and are hoping to help you develop your skills in, okay? So think about those, okay? And then, let's see, what was I saying? And this one, again, another thing that people are looking for and how these have changed over time, what has been your major in high school? You don't really have those in high school, but what's been your focus? If you say that, let's say you really love English and language and literature, and all of a sudden you are thinking that you want to go into a STEM degree. Well, please do try, because we need all kinds of skills in engineering and in science. But you need to be able to make your case for that, all right? Have you held a leadership position? General work experience. It's okay if you can't go to school clubs because you have to go work at an hourly job in the afternoon. That's okay. You're doing something. You're supporting your family. You're supporting yourself. Those are important things. These are things you can write about as well. Have you been involved in extracurricular activities or sports? That's also very important because you learn wonderful skills by playing sports, teamwork, leadership skills, time management skills, all of those things. You can write about these. 3.0 or better, that should be the goal. For STEM, you should try to do a little bit better than that. I would go higher. But, RPI accepts, well, we had a big class this year, 2,000 people, but, probably going to accept about 1,600. That's what our normal number is. And only of the 1,600 students, there are very few, maybe 20, who have perfect SATs and perfect grades, right? So don't think that you're not gonna be able to get in because maybe you've got a C in physics or something like that. Just keep trying hard and show that you're interested and be able to talk about why that C happened. And if you're interested and you have that English degree and you decide you want to be a nurse, talk about your passion, talk about why you want to be a nurse. And if you have that English degree, you're going to be able to write about that really well, okay? And it'll be a very compelling essay. Okay, so that's it for me. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
Does RPI have any programs or financial incentives to try to draw more women into the STEM?
We, to draw more women, no. Women fill out the FAFSA, and then they get accepted, and
Very male-dominated field. RPI, I think the male-female ratio is certainly what you do on the male side.
well, when I first started working at RPI back in 1987, I went months without seeing a female. And that's the truth. And now about 34% of our student body are females, and they're the leaders on the campus. We would love to have more females. And basically everything is driven by the FAFSA for students to get in. So I encourage individuals to, find out which schools you want to go to and look at what their criteria are. It's okay to go local if you think, if you want to go to RPI, apply to RPI. I mean, I can tell you, it's a long distance between here and RPI. I drove it tonight. I know that it is. So it's far enough away from home that you won't have to come home every weekend and you won't have to do laundry for your kids every weekend. It's far enough away. So just apply. I mean, it's extraordinary education. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful information. We heard a lot about different careers. Who wants to switch to a STEM field? Those statistics are always great. And I think the important thing is that not a lot of sophomores may know what they want to do. Last week, all the school counselors went to every single 10th grade English class, and we introduced our Naviance program. So Naviance is a program that your student will be using throughout high school. It's our web-based college and career program that we use here at the high school for lots of different things. Seniors right now, that's how we send their transcripts. It's how we send those letters of recommendation. In the junior year, it's how you research colleges. But for 10th graders, this year is kind of on career exploration. Some students know exactly or think they know exactly what they want to do, and others have zero idea, and then everyone in between. So we wanted to do some activities through Naviance with your students, which we did last week. And Mr. Nolan's going to come down and show you what we did in Naviance, including a resume. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Every student in this room now knows what a resume is because we did that as well. So we're going to switch spots here. Bear with us.
All right. So there's a lot of great components of Naviance, and we encourage you to explore them with your children as they're navigating through high school and starting to look at different careers and colleges and things of that nature, we're just going to give you a very, very quick overview of how it works. So there's a few different tabs on the top here, and you can kind of click around on your own and do your research, but we're going to show you just a few. We'll start with the self-discovery tab. So this one we actually did utilize in the 10th grade classrooms. We did something called the Career Interest Profiler, which used Holland traits to be able to distinguish kind of what students' interests were, what they might want to navigate in their academics, what they might want to study, that kind of stuff. So as you can see, this is just one example of an assessment that Naviance uses to help you kind of get to know yourself a little bit more, to get to research a little bit more, and to figure out what you might want to study someday when you're going into college or when you're looking at careers. So there's a ton of different ones that you can go on to. This is just an example of after you take the assessment. It also gives you a bunch of careers that you can look at. We did that in the 10th grade classroom as well, looking at different levels of education it takes, looking at the different salaries, looking at exactly what they do. So you want to make sure that you kind of explore this with your children as well and try to figure out what their interests might be, especially going throughout their high school career. So if you scroll back up, the other ones that you're going to look at, if you just click on the careers tab there, you can go in and explore different careers as well. We looked at something called the Road Trip Nation videos as well, which has a lot of different monumental people from across the world who have found their careers and what it took for them to get there. So if you want to click on those as well and watch some of those videos, sometimes it's helpful to know, different journeys that others have gone on. If you go back up to the top, the big one that you're probably going to utilize Naviance for is the college search. So when you click on here, there's a lot of different things. It's kind of overwhelming, but you're going to just want to, stick to right now maybe looking at like the advanced college search option or the college lookup. The advanced college search is a really, really great tool where you can put in very specific things that you're looking for in your university. You can put in like location, exactly how far you want to be. You can put in specific majors that you might be interested in, costs, if there's specific athletic programs or clubs or programs that you're looking for. So it really divides it and it gives you a whole list and it breaks it down into different matches that would be good for you. So maybe that's a good way to start looking right now and seeing what kind of pops up. If you scroll back up, the other thing that we worked on in the 10th grade classrooms as well was the resume and the About Me section. So we did start putting stuff into resumes such as clubs and education, things that they could already start doing. And we definitely encourage you as you are going throughout high school to keep updating that resume so that when you're a senior, you're not super overwhelmed with trying to remember everything that you did. And you'll be applying to jobs soon and sending out your resume, so it's good to keep it kind of updated. So yeah, so that's really the basis of Naviance. Like I said, we encourage you to look at it a little bit further. All your kids should know how to get on at this point and how to get on there and do their research. So yeah, thank you everyone so much. Is there any last questions before we wrap this up? Yeah. Sure, Marcia.
I'm not sure if I caught that. Yes, I don't know if I heard the whole thing.
I heard that because I was back there. Okay, she's asking if, for SUNY Albany, if it's better to have a 95 in a Regents program or an 85 in more advanced coursework. Did I get that right? Yep.
Yeah, that's the magic question, actually. We get asked that all the time. I think that what we want to know is that the student is taking a curriculum that they're able to handle. So if the student is going to be, and we want to know that you're challenging yourself, of course, but not at the expense of where I'm going to be in, an honors program, but I'm struggling. You still need to maintain a good average. So it is all, I just always recommend talk with your teachers, make sure you are comfortable with what you're doing in the program that you're in. But there's no magic answer to that question. We do like to see honors, and part of what our process is looking at the competitiveness of your program. But if you're going to take a really competitive program and you're still falling short, then maybe that is not the right track for you. So you want to really think about that. Not sure if that's a fully clear answer, but it really is one that a lot of students are concerned about. And I say, talk to your guidance counselors, talk to your teacher, make sure you're taking the right program. And you don't want to be, in a 95 in a Regents track program, and we see that you're doing really well, but you're not, really challenging yourself, and because you're going to be up against other students that we're comparing you to from Guilderland High School that's going to have a 95, and they have, that competitive program AP. Of course, that would be more favorable. So hopefully that helps. It's always a tough question. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Good question. I'm just going to repeat it because it's being recorded so everyone can hear. So 2 questions. One, if a student is in a class where they really connect with the teacher, should they be asking for that recommendation now? And the second question was, do the teachers ever let them see the recommendation? So typically students do not ask for recommendations until the spring of their junior year. I would say, and certainly these ladies can back me up on this, I think colleges like to see, a variety of different teachers, so you may not know yet what career path you have, so you don't want to ask one teacher and then decide like, oh wait, but I am going to STEM, I might need a math or a science teacher. So it typically is done at the very end of the junior year or the beginning of the senior year. And those letters of recommendation are confidential. Counselors and teachers do not share them with students. They're sent directly to the institution to maintain that confidentiality. But very good question. Any other questions? Well, if you do have any, you can certainly reach out to your school counselors. I do want to make a plug that teachers right now are meeting with your students in the course recommendation process, meaning every teacher between the beginning of December and the winter break are talking to students about courses that they need for next year. So if your student is thinking about challenging themselves and might want to go to that next level, encourage them to have that conversation with their teacher. You want your student to put that forth now. Because once recommendations are made, that's what we go off of. So have those conversations. And if a teacher says, oh, I recommend you for this, and the student doesn't agree, have those conversations now. So you should ask your student, what are the conversations you're having? Find out about that now. So that will be happening from now until before we break at the end of December.
And that brings something to mind that I didn't add. Ultimately, right, you're preparing for college. You're preparing for that next step and taking on that challenge. So taking the challenging program is going to help you in that endeavor. So that's a big part of the pie as well. Because when you get to college, your curriculum is going to be challenging. So you want to make sure that you are prepared and not taking the easy way out.
Excellent. And I just want to remind you that you're not in this alone. We will be, the school counseling department, we are working with you and your child from now until they graduate. We will have individual meetings next year in the junior year, like we did last year in the 9th grade, and that will be centered more on post-high school plans. But we're here for you along the way. Anytime you have a question about these things, I think both of these presentations brought up great points that you can start thinking about now, so please reach out to us. And I want to thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you so much. And if you have questions later on, just come on up. Thank you. Have a good night.